Okay, so we're about to dive into something pretty strange, a really mysterious artifact. On the surface, it was created to celebrate a man's life, but when you dig a little deeper, it reveals a story that its creators, well, they definitely never wanted told.
So what are we looking at here? This is a custom-made, leather-bound book. The title is pretty simple: The First 50 Years. See, back in 2003, for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday, his friends and associates commissioned this thing. Think of it like a private scrapbook, just filled with letters and photos, all meant to honor him.
But here's the thing. This was not just any old birthday present. No way. It was a really carefully constructed narrative. And that leaves us with a couple of big questions, right? First, what story was this book actually trying to tell? And maybe more importantly, what was it hiding? So let's unpack it together.
All right, first up, the beginning of this book is all about one thing: building a myth. I mean, it's about crafting this very particular, very flattering history. It's a totally curated past.
So where does the story start? Well, it begins by trying to establish these really humble roots. You can see it right here. On the left, you've got these classic, kind of nostalgic photos of Coney Island in Brooklyn. And then over on the right, that's a page from his own father's handwritten life story. The whole point is to ground Epstein's origins in this hardworking, salt-of-the-earth vision of New York.
And they really doubled down on that humble image with these deeply personal notes, like this one from his own mother. Her letter says, "You have been a good son from day one, and we have been proud of you ever since." The projection here is crystal clear, isn't it? He's the beloved, successful son.
But it's not just about being the loving family man. The book also works really hard to build this myth of innate genius. Take a look at this typewritten poem from someone named Fran. It calls him a truly great mathematician and claims his whole financial empire all started with an erector set. It's that classic rags to riches story, but with this extra layer of intellectual brilliance painted on top. Okay, so after they've set up this whole myth about his past, the book makes a big pivot. It starts showcasing his present, and really, it's just a testament to this absolutely incredible network of power and influence.
And this might just be the most bizarre entry in the entire collection. It comes from Donald J. Trump. The text itself is written inside the outline of a woman's torso, and it reads like a script. It says, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey," from Donald. And then it ends with this line: "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." Just wow. The book also goes out of its way to portray him as a peer to the world's great thinkers. I mean, look at this. The pioneering scientist Marvin Minsky actually created this super complex diagram of Epstein's mind. And he wrote, "There are 6 billion intellects on Earth, but this is the quickest one I've met, aside from Isaac Asimov." That's some pretty high praise.
And Minsky wasn't the only one. The science section is just packed with these glowing, really laudatory notes from prominent scientists. This one here, it's filled with quotes from famous thinkers like Thoreau and Leonardo da Vinci, and they're all being applied to Epstein. The message couldn't be clearer. He's not just some financier, he's a great intellectual and a philanthropist.
But, the book itself is really only part of the story. When you look at associated documents, like his personal contact list, you start to see the true scale of his network. We're talking contacts that include a number for the White House, the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, the modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, even David Copperfield the magician. And believe me, the list just goes on and on. So here's the crucial point, right? This entire book was designed to project this image of respectable power. But if you start to look a little closer, both inside the book and in the documents floating around it, you start to see the cracks in that facade. And some of the stuff you find is, well, at best, it's just bizarre. At worst, it's deeply, deeply unsettling. And one of those cracks shows up in a section of the book that's titled simply Girlfriends. Yeah, the kind of childish font and that really informal title, it just immediately stands out from the super serious family or science sections. It signals a pretty sharp shift in tone.
And this contradiction, it becomes really stark when you put the book's contents right next to other documents. So, on the left, you've got a letter in the book praising Epstein for his incisive sense of how the world works. But then, on the right, you see a note from a totally separate confidential document, and it mentions a witness who interacted and chat daily with underage girls. Suddenly, the curated world of the book is clashing with a very, very different documented reality.
And the oddities just keep coming, even inside the book itself. Take this piece of abstract art. It was included as a birthday wish, but then you look at the handwritten label in the corner and it reveals the title, Tit Print 2002. I mean, it's a crude, sexually charged thing to include that feels completely, wildly out of place next to all those letters from world leaders.
Now, to really get the significance of these cracks, we gotta put the book into a timeline. It was created in 2003, right? That was the absolute peak of his social and financial power. But just 4 years later, in 2007, the world this book depicted would come crashing into reality when Epstein signed a federal non-prosecution agreement for sex crimes.
And this right here, this is a page from that very agreement. It details the terms of his plea to charges of soliciting a minor. And all of a sudden, those unsettling hints and bizarre things inside his birthday book, they weren't just oddities anymore. They were a prelude to documented crimes.
So when we pull back and look at this book as a whole, what is it, really? Well, it's an artifact of just profound contradiction. It's kind of like it's three things all at once. First, it's a monument to a man's ego, built for him by his powerful friends. Second, it's a tool of perception, designed specifically to shape how he was seen by the world. And now, looking back on it all, it's also something else, an unintentional and pretty chilling record of a double life.
And maybe no single page captures this contradiction better than this one right here. It's a birthday card from inside the book. Look, you've got the private jet, a symbol of immense wealth. You've got the birthday cake, a symbol of celebration. And then just scattered all around them, you have these crude, objectifying drawings of women. It's all there, right on one page. The power, the influence, and this dark, really unsettling undercurrent. Which, of course, leaves us with one final and really crucial question. This book, it was a private object, right? Seen by very few people. But it was also a reflection of a public reality. So what does an artifact like this truly reveal about how power, perception, and ultimately silence are actually manufactured and maintained right out in plain sight?